Here's an old question everyone's heard at some point. Why do bad things happen to good people? It's one that's hard to answer with any kind of scientific accuracy, but civilizations have created many ways to try and explain it. One quite familiar to most: karma. A term stemming from Hinduism and Buddhism, karma is the sum total of one's actions, positive and negative, that help decide one's fate. This often goes hand in hand with reincarnation, speculating that even though bad things benefit you this time around, you may pay for it next time. It's a wonderfully ideal cosmic balance, even if we all know someone that seems to get the short end of the stick every single time. Illustrating this point might sound difficult, except that movies love karma. Filmmakers have been using it since the start of film. Like the bad guy getting their comeuppance at the end despite a little bit of gain. Ultimately, bad guy loses. That's formula. So the challenge is not to find a movie that exemplifies it, but one that does it with some subtlety, in a more realistic approach, possibly based on real-life events. That'll do, Natalie Portman. That'll do. This film is based on the book of the same name, telling the tale of one woman's struggle against bad luck and her stubborn refusal to give up despite the odds stacked against her. It's also known as the movie about the Walmart baby. While that is technically accurate, it's almost misleading, like telling someone The Shawshank Redemption is a story about Andy Dufresne's murder trial. Sure, it's an important plot point, and the rest of the story wouldn't happen without that, but is that really why people like the movie? While some may have heard of Where the Heart Is and dismiss it as a high-budget Lifetime movie, the story does a fantastic job of quantifying and examining the driving forces behind what most people call karma, and also illustrates the dangers of swaying too far in either positive or negative behaviors. How, you ask? Well, let's go on down to the Walmart and people watch for a while. Should be a good time. Lots to see. Meet Novalee Nation, the sweet, naive trailer park flower. She's 7 months pregnant and following her beau, Willie Jack Pickens. They're traveling in the best vehicle you can buy for less than a month's rent as he drives them across the country to California. Do they have a plan when they get there? Since this story is told mostly from Novalee's perspective, we know exactly what she does. Nothing at all about it. But I'm sure he has her best interests in mind.
Will I ever make it home? Gone so long. Hey! Hey, Novalee! Wake up! You sound like a damn pig!
Or maybe she's the only one that stayed? Oh. The two have a good amount of unhealthy relationship banter until Novalee feels a kick.
Here. Feel that?
No.
Right there. Feel that little bump, bump, bump? That's where the heart is.
Yeah, I know. It sounds like a cheesy title drop moment, but believe it or not, historians would call that a watershed for these two, because it's a small, seemingly insignificant moment that has far-reaching consequences for both. When she stops at a Walmart to use the bathroom and buy house slippers, he takes the opportunity to change his mind about bringing her along to Cali, leaving her abandoned in the middle of Sequoia, Oklahoma. Yes, Sequoia! Spelled that way on purpose. I realize it's just a pet peeve of mine, but this is probably the hardest part of the film for me. Since it's a town's name, it's technically not wrong, but it feels that way. I'm good. Move on. Now, if Novalee were thinking of how she could help herself, she might have sought out some kind of halfway house, possibly homeless shelter, so she at least could spend the night somewhere not outside. She's stubborn, though, finding a way to make herself safe so her baby will not suffer for the situation she's found herself in. I mean, there's people out there willing to help her, like Sister Husband, that person at Walmart that'll talk to you in line even though you don't really know them, and yeah, you just know that this person has to have problems.
Oh, yeah, one more thing.
What is that?
This is a buckeye tree. Brings you good luck. Here, take it. There. Well, goodbye, Ruth Ann. And, it's real nice to see you again. And welcome home.
Actually, maybe I'm the one with the problem, because she seems like exactly what Novalee needs to get out of the situation. Sister Husband is the glue that holds Novalee together, offering her the chance to do something instead of taking a handout. She never gives charity, just an opportunity to help around the house that ultimately supplies the young girl with a friend, a tree, and a real roof over her head. I say real because for the first 6 weeks she was in Sequoia, Novalee overnighted in the Walmart every night. And this is before it was open 24 hours a day, so it wasn't as common. She actually gives birth in the store at night, surviving only because a man named Forney jumped through a plate glass window to help her. We'll get back to him later. When Novalee finds herself famous for 15 minutes and then stranded at the hospital, it's Sister Husband who comes out of nowhere to give Novalee the chance to get on her feet again. It seriously baffles me how Ashley Judd is featured as the second headliner on most promotional material when Stockard Channing's role is so much more impactful. Now, I'm not saying that Sister Husband is flawless. She's a recovered alcoholic who is going to be fighting that battle the rest of her life. But that actually helps prove that you don't have to be perfect to be someone's saint. In fact, I think that's a very valuable lesson this film has. No one's perfect, but as long as you're aiming for better, you could do a lot worse. That lesson combos well with Novalee's friend Lexi Coop, who has a good job, seems smart enough, but just keeps finding the wrong guy, again and again and again. Has a kid to show for each one. She compares herself to Novalee, who seems to take that to heart and swears off of men entirely, just keeping her good friend Forney around constantly. Remember him? The guy that was standing outside the closed store staring at her as she was struggling to give birth, so he broke in to help her? Yeah, definitely just a friend. Unlike Novalee, Forney is all book smarts and has no touch with people. The only reason he's still stuck in this town is to care for his sister, as he has for almost 10 years at the start of the film. He is clearly in love with Novalee, but she can't let herself see that possibility. You see, she's a selfless protagonist. Maybe that's why this movie gets lumped into the Hallmark mom movies, because it features a selfless main character. But unlike the regular plot where it just acts selfless and everything will come to you, this film has a great counterpoint. Willie Jack Pickens. While he may be absent from Novalee's life, the audience gets to see what he's up to the entire film as the story follows both. His are more just snippets, but it does mark a great contrast to his former lover's life course. You know what? Let's bring in the DM to talk about him. DM?
Yeah. Flagrant use of retcons. Intimidating players. Illegal use of a time loop. Haha. Yeah. I'm gonna nail this sucker.
It's really you! Good! What are you doing?
Oh, sorry. I'm busy building a case against the storyteller for the higher-ups. Dude's got a lot to answer for.
You're not kidding.
A lot.
So, I thought you'd like to weigh in on something. Ease you back into it.
Sure, I guess. What is it?
The 2000 film Where the Heart Is.
My first day back and you're having me do a mom movie?
Yes. Tell me how her baby daddy ruins his own life.
Ah! Now you're speaking my language. A perfect example of King White Trash. Willie ditches his pregnant girlfriend, nay to return. Already I hate this guy. It's like that one player, you know, the one that always splits the party.
Alright, I'm back with my snacks. What'd I miss?
The session ended yesterday, Bacchus.
But the Funyuns were stuck in the machine! They were!
I believe you, Bacchus. After another poor decision, he finds himself where he belongs. In prison. Doing hard time with only his guitar to keep him company. But, even with all that bad karma, fate can lend a hand occasionally. Let's see here. He puts a lot of points into his perform skill, and once released, well, impresses an agent enough to get signed under a new name. Billy Shadow. It's a DM hat trick. Man gets to completely change his persona, divorce himself from his past, and move forward.
And that's totally the opposite of what Novalee does. Even after she's moved beyond Walmart, the fame she got from that is not part of her past she's burying. She acknowledges it and learns to never let herself get into that situation again. She demonstrates that she can take these experiences, even bad ones, and turn them into something good.
That's what a good player does. Bad player?
I just think Ruth Myers has went about as far as she can with me. My head just keeps butting against the ceiling, and I want to break through.
You and Ruth Myers got some kind of a contract? I just want to warn you, Ruth Myers can be a powerful ally. She makes a hell of an enemy. You mess with her and nobody will touch you.
Give the man the keys to the kingdom and all he does is spit in your face for it. He is a stupid man. His song's in legal conflict, and his agent has dropped him. He's a loser again, all because he didn't learn his lesson about screwing other people over for short-term gains. If he just stopped acting like he was such a big deal and consider other people for 2 seconds. But then again, he wouldn't be such an easy and admittedly pleasing target to take down. DMs love this type of fool.
I'm sure you guys do. And karma does love a good turnaround.
Speaking of which, though, I really need to get back to this research. The hearing's in a week, and the prince is not a patient man.
Who's the prince?
Bacchus, why are you still here?
Want some Funyuns?
Maybe later.
So, Willie Jack symbolizes where wasting opportunity eventually lands you, while Nova Lee, with very few options, manages to flourish, telling a tale as old as time. The bad guys never get their way. Is that really the message, though? Is Nova Lee the paragon of virtue, while Billy Shadow's the scum of the earth? Or do they both represent something more? My vote's for more. Psycho! Wow, everyone's back! How did you get out? Never mind. What you're trying to say is that Nova Lee and Willie Jack represent two extremes. Selflessness and selfishness, respectively. Nova Lee would do anything for her daughter, but struggles to even take the littlest bit of help for herself, even when she's in dire need of it. She's almost self-destructive in her commitment to taking the path where she gets nothing more than what she needs for her daughter. And Willie is clearly selfish. No need to elaborate. Actually there is. Willie Jack's selfishness is the reason that he succeeds as much as he does. Without his need to gain attention, he wouldn't have practiced that guitar. Without the desire to impress people with his song playing, he wouldn't have pursued that agent. His selfishness, the same thing that got him into trouble, pulled him right back out of it. Yes, he ultimately suffered for it because he's a jackass, but that doesn't change the fact. Selflessness and selfishness both have their uses. Yeah, if Nova Lee had exercised just a little bit more selfishness, maybe she could have avoided illegally squatting and just accepted the help that was offered. And if Billy Shadow had just taken his agent's word and shown a little bit of patience, he might have become a country star instead of a gigantic flameout. So the lesson is, be mostly selfless with moments of selfishness. You're such a sociologist, always trying to generalize. Hey, don't do all of one or the other. Be flexible and you'll go further. That makes sense too. Thanks, Psycho. It's good to have you back. Oh, it's good to be back. Back with my actual artwork here, the candles, my angel. What the hell did this happen? Things can change when you're not paying attention. What? Why? Not again. So, at the end of the day, Willie Jack and Nova Lee are two very different examples of something we can all relate to. How centric one's self is to one's own life. And I suppose that's kind of what karma boils down to as well. Treating others as only a stepladder to the next great thing in life may, in the short term, lead to gains, but if that trend continues, you'll eventually burn all bridges in the process. However, having the drive only for others without thinking of yourself can be equally dangerous and leave you with consequences like an empty life, where you're playing an extra in your own story. Where the Heart is an interesting tale, because this all started from a novel based on a true event, which usually leads to horror movies these days. But this has a much more down-to-earth, sometimes tragic, but ultimately uplifting tone, and a great message for the audience. One that I'll let Nova Lee share.
You tell them we've all got meanness in us. But we've got goodness too. And the only thing worth living for is the good. And that is why we've got to make sure to pass it on.
There's potential in all of us, for great, for evil, better, worse. We make small choices every day that affect that. The summation of these choices is what lead us down the path in life, regardless of what happens to try and shape our course. We are always going to be a driving force if we're making those choices every day. That's a lesson well worth learning. I'm Socio, and I love the path that I'm on.
Today I'll be spinning on a wheel, I'm a slave to a wheel, and there isn't any stopping. What mistake could I have made? I'm a slave serving time for a life
We DM loves this type of character.
We DM love.
We DM love! We DM love! Yes, we are the DM.
And we are forced to reckon with. What country are you from again?
My favorite sports ball team is the Hulk Hogans. Last night I saw them kick an oblong ball made of slaughtered pigskin from the 3-point line through an upright H for a hat trick. Home run!
What is that from?